There is a reason cookies are so hard to stop eating. They are engineered to feel like a reward, not a decision. You open a package, take one, and before you know it, several are gone. But here is the part most shoppers miss. The biggest difference between cookie brands is not simply taste. It is what the label reveals about serving size, added sugar, saturated fat, ingredients, and how much real food you are getting for the calories. Today, we are looking at 10 cookie brands and product lines that deserve a much closer look, followed by 3 options that can make more sense when you actually read the label. This is not a claim that these cookies are poisonous, or that eating one will suddenly make you unhealthy. Cookies are treats. The goal is smarter shopping. The FDA says added sugars should generally stay below 50 grams a day on a 2,000-calorie diet, and it classifies 20% daily value or more as high. The agency also reminds consumers that serving sizes matter because every number on the nutrition facts panel is tied to the stated serving. That sounds obvious, until you realize how easy it is to treat a package as one portion when the label does not. So let's start with a brand almost everyone recognizes. Number 10. Lorna Doone. Lorna Doone has a deceptively simple reputation. The square shortbread-style cookie looks basic, almost old-fashioned. And that simplicity can create a health halo: fewer visible decorations, no giant chocolate chunks, no flashy filling. But simple looking does not automatically mean nutritionally simple. The first thing to examine is the serving size. The issue is not that any one ingredient makes the cookie forbidden. The issue is what you receive in exchange for the calories. A cookie can be perfectly acceptable as an occasional dessert while still being a poor everyday snack. Those are 2 different questions, and that distinction becomes even more important with the next brand. Number 9. Nilla Wafers. Nilla Wafers are often associated with banana pudding, childhood snacks, and classic American desserts. Their image is almost nostalgic enough to make people stop thinking about the label. But nostalgia is not nutrition. These cookies are primarily a refined, sweet-baked product. They can fit into a balanced diet, but they are not a meaningful source of protein or fiber, and the added sugar and calorie count can climb when the serving expands. Here is the psychological trick. Because each wafer is small, your brain can interpret the portion as small. 10 little cookies can feel different from one large cookie, even though the nutrition still adds up. That is why package design and portion size matter. The FDA specifically recommends using the serving size and nutrition facts panel to compare foods rather than relying on impressions created by packaging. And now we move from a classic vanilla wafer to a cookie famous for its chocolate coating. Number 8. Keebler Fudge Stripes. Fudge stripes are a perfect example of why visual appeal can overpower label reading. They are designed to look indulgent. The stripes, chocolate coating, and ring shape create a dessert experience before you even take the first bite. But the more elaborate the cookie feels, the easier it becomes to forget what it actually is: a highly processed sweet-baked snack. Again, that does not make it dangerous. The smarter question is frequency. If a cookie contains substantial added sugar and saturated fat while offering little fiber or protein, it is better treated as a dessert than as a routine snack. The FDA lists added sugars and saturated fat among nutrients consumers generally should get less of. And here comes a brand that takes the indulgence even further. Number 7. Chips Ahoy. Chips Ahoy is one of the most recognizable chocolate chip cookie names in America. The brand has built its identity around the idea of the classic chocolate chip cookie: familiar, convenient, and easy to eat. That convenience is exactly what deserves attention. Chocolate chips, refined flour, sugar, and added fats can create a very rewarding combination. The problem is that the reward is fast while the fullness may not be. When a food is easy to eat quickly, portion control becomes less about willpower and more about the environment around you. A large package sitting open on a kitchen counter is a very different situation from putting 2 cookies on a plate and closing the package. That is a useful lesson for every brand on this list. The cookie itself is only half the story. The other half is how the product is packaged, portioned, and eaten. But our next cookie has another issue: the premium image. Number 6. Pepperidge Farm Milano. Milano cookies look sophisticated. The packaging feels more upscale, the cookie is delicate, and the chocolate center gives it a dessert-like identity. And that creates what marketers understand extremely well: premium perception. Consumers often assume that a product that looks more elegant must also be a better choice. But price, presentation, and nutrition are completely different things. A premium cookie can still be a cookie. The practical move is to ignore the front of the package and turn it around. Check calories, check saturated fat, check added sugar. Then check how many cookies the serving actually contains. The FDA's guidance is simple. Use the label to understand what one serving contributes, and multiply the numbers if you eat multiple servings. That brings us to the midpoint, and this is where the list gets more interesting. Because the biggest mistake would be thinking this video is simply about finding 10 bad brands. It isn't. The real investigation is about identifying the difference between a cookie that is designed primarily around indulgence and a cookie that gives you something extra for the calories, such as more fiber, simpler ingredients, or a better portion profile. And 3 brands later, you may completely change how you shop. But first, we have 5 more. Number 5, Famous Amos. Famous Amos is another cookie built around snackability. Small chocolate chip cookies are easy to grab, easy to share, and easy to underestimate. That last part matters. When cookies are individually small, people can lose track of quantity. The visual unit is tiny, but the total serving can become surprisingly large. This is why nutrition labels are more powerful than food marketing. A tiny cookie is not automatically a light cookie. The only reliable way to compare products is to look at the actual serving and nutrients. There is also a second consideration: ingredients. If the first ingredients are refined grains and added sweeteners, you are looking at a treat rather than a food you would choose primarily for nutritional value. That does not mean you need to eliminate it. It means you should know what job the food is doing. Dessert, fine. Daily snack, that's a different decision. Number 4, Mother's Circus Animal Cookies. These are practically designed to trigger nostalgia. Bright colors, playful shapes, and a childhood association can make them feel harmless. But the psychology of kid food can be misleading. A food can be fun without being nutritionally substantial. Cookies with added sugars and refined grains should generally be understood as treats, regardless of whether the package targets children or adults. The FDA's current labeling guidance makes the same broader point. Added sugar is one part of the information consumers should consider, alongside serving size and other nutrients. And there is another lesson here. The more emotional the branding, the more important it becomes to read the back of the package. Number 3, Little Debbie Oatmeal Cream Pies. This one is especially interesting because the word oatmeal can create a healthy association. Oats are a nutritious grain, but an oatmeal cookie sandwich is not automatically equivalent to a bowl of plain oats. The cream filling, sweeteners, refined ingredients, and overall dessert formulation change the picture completely. This is one of the most important rules in grocery shopping. Judge the finished product, not one ingredient that sounds healthy. A product can contain oats and still be a dessert. It can contain fruit and still be sugary. It can contain whole grains and still be calorie-dense. The label tells you the whole story more reliably than the front of package health halo. And now we reach the final 2 brands. Number 2, Oreo. Few cookies are more recognizable than Oreo. The problem is not that Oreo is some mysterious chemical product. It isn't. It is a commercially produced sandwich cookie, and the nutrition label tells you exactly what category it belongs to. The bigger issue is how easy it is to turn a portion into a pattern. One cookie becomes 2, to become 4, and suddenly the calories and added sugar are several times what the front of the package made you think about. This is why serving size is one of the most underrated tools in the grocery aisle. The FDA explicitly warns consumers to pay attention to how many servings are in a package and to multiply nutrition values when eating more than one serving. So if you love Oreos, the smart strategy is not panic. It is portion awareness, and that leads to our number 1. Number 1, Tate's Bake Shop. Tate's is interesting because it looks premium and handmade compared with many mass-market cookies. The texture is crisp. The packaging feels upscale. The price can reinforce the idea that you are buying something fundamentally different. But premium does not mean nutritionally superior. A more expensive cookie can still be high in calories, added sugar, and saturated fat because those characteristics are part of what makes a rich cookie taste like a rich cookie. That is why Tate's earns the number 1 spot here, not because the brand is uniquely unsafe, but because it demonstrates the biggest consumer lesson of all. Do not confuse premium branding with better nutrition. Now for the part that matters most. If 10 popular cookies deserve a closer look, what should you actually buy? Here are 3 options worth considering, not because they are healthy cookies, but because they offer different nutritional or ingredient profiles that may better fit certain shoppers. Our first pick, Simple Mills. Simple Mills is known for cookies made with alternative flours and ingredients such as almond flour, depending on the product. The key advantage is not a magic health claim, it is the ingredient profile. For shoppers trying to avoid certain conventional ingredients or looking for a cookie with a different base, it can be an interesting alternative. But read the label anyway. Alternative flour does not erase calories. Natural-sounding ingredients do not automatically make a dessert unlimited. The same rule applies. Check serving size, added sugar, saturated fat, and the full ingredient list. Our second pick is Partake. Partake built its reputation around allergen-friendly cookies, including products designed without several major allergens. That can make the brand particularly useful for households managing specific food restrictions. But again, allergen-friendly does not automatically mean low sugar, low calorie, or nutritionally superior. This is where responsible consumer advice matters. A cookie can be a good choice for one person's needs and not another's. And our third pick is where the story comes full circle. Who positions its cookies around simpler ingredient philosophies and a more premium alternative to conventional cookies. The reason to consider a product like this is not because the word simple guarantees anything. It is because the product gives shoppers another choice when they want a different ingredient profile. But remember, a premium ingredient list does not turn a cookie into a health food. So what have we actually learned after looking across all 13? The biggest trap is not one scary ingredient. It is the assumption that the front of the package tells you everything. It doesn't. The front tells you the story the brand wants you to notice. The nutrition facts panel tells you what the serving contributes. The ingredient list tells you what the product is made from. And the serving size tells you how quickly a small decision can become a large one. The FDA's guidance is especially useful here. It identifies 20% daily value or more as high for nutrients with a daily value, and it encourages consumers to compare products using the nutrition facts label. It also says added sugars should generally remain below 50 grams per day on a 2,000-calorie diet. So next time you stand in the cookie aisle, don't ask only, which brand tastes best? Ask 3 better questions. How much am I actually eating? How much added sugar and saturated fat am I getting? And what am I getting in return? Because the smartest grocery shopper is not the person who never eats cookies. It is the person who understands exactly what they are buying. Cookies are supposed to be enjoyable. You do not need to fear them, and you do not need to treat one dessert like a health emergency. Stop letting the front of the package make the decision for you. Turn it around, read the label, compare the serving, then choose. If this changed the way you look at the cookie aisle, share this video with someone who always says, "It's just one cookie." And if you want more evidence-based grocery investigations that separate marketing from the label, subscribe. Because the next time you reach for a familiar package, you may notice something you never noticed before.